Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's class.
Hello,
So, if you're
everyone.
live on the call, okay, and I can go ahead.
Okay, so welcome everyone. For those of us live on the call, either you are watching on Twitch or you are watching on YouTube directly, wherever you are watching from, please make sure you drop a message on our Discord community. Inform the others that are not here. Drop a message on your chat room so that we'll have more persons joining. So your instructor is already here, Miss Amaka Wonsu. So please, everyone, let's drop a message so we can have more persons joining. So drop a message on the Discord room. Thank you. Okay. So yeah, Mr. Maka, please you can go ahead and start and also share your slide. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Emanuela. So, if you are yet to follow us on Twitch, kindly go ahead and follow the channel on Twitch and subscribe to our YouTube channel. So, good afternoon, guys. Welcome on board. Okay, we're good to go. So today basically we'll be talking about introduction to user experience. So I will start by introducing myself. So basically my name is Wamaka Wonsu. I also happen to be a UX consultant and an entrepreneur with passion for delving deep into thoughts and needs of users. I'm also a co-founder at Top Universe and Kit Club. So, moving on to today's topic, introduction to UX, also known as user experience. Now, I would start by saying that user experience already exists, and what we do in user experience majorly is to make sure that the process is simplified for every user and it's something that everyone can work with. So basically, user experience is said to be the study of designing products that are both functional and enjoyable for the users. Now, it is concentrated on comprehending user behaviors and developing features and making sure that whatever that is being produced will satisfy a user when we're working with it. So now there are mistakes and myths we have surrounding the user experience or UX, and most people have different versions of what UX design is, and there are so many misconceptions. So I will start by saying that UX is not just about making things look pretty. It's one thing to make something look pretty and not usable. It's another thing to make it look pretty and not desirable. So UX is more than just making things look pretty. It's more about creating solutions and making sure that these solutions solve a problem. So UX is only for digital products. That is wrong because in our everyday life, we tend to have user experience because we experience things in different dimensions, both in physical objects and in digital products as well, and in our day-to-day lifestyles. UX designers don't need to understand user research. This is a very big myth. As a UX designer, you have to understand your users because at the tail end of everything, every product that is being built is centered around your users. If you don't understand what your users need, then there's no way you'll be developing a product or a solution. So you have to understand that for every design, for every product you have to work on, you are not the user and you have to understand the users themselves. Moving on, we'll say why is UX important? Now we have talked about how UX has to do with with the interactions we have daily, and then with the experience we get from these different interactions we make, meaning that UX is very, very important. Now, it ranges from the impressions we have about things like how was this idea born about, why is this happening, and how do we make it work. So it's important because it encompasses all aspects of our users interaction. It goes from saying is this experience good, is it enjoyable, If I'm getting into a car, does opening the door, when I open the door, is it easy for me to open and get in, or do I have to drag it, or do I have this effect? It's something that you have to understand, that every experience that must be created has to be enjoyable. So when creating products, we need to note that the products that to be created have to be usable, they have to be useful, and they have to be desirable. Now, in making a great product, usability, usefulness, and desirability all comes to play, because whatever you are going to design or whatever product you would have to work on, if they are not usable, if it is not useful and it is not desirable, then there is no need for that product. So for every product you have to work on, you have to know that yes, it is usable. Can my users use it? Yes. Is it desirable? Yes. And is it useful? Yes. When you have these three put together, you have successfully nailed your process, and you know that this has given a great user experience. Also, we have to understand that every every aspect of design influences a user experience, and it's more about designing specifically for the need of a user or customers. Now, the thing here is, when you design, everything comes into play, because, as I said earlier on, you are not the user. The way you see an experience as a designer is different from the way your user sees the experience. Now, for you, it's easy for you to relate to a product as a designer, but on the other hand, it's different from your users. Now, your users are not used to this particular experience you're creating for them, so they might not understand why you're coming from this angle. So you have to take note and put into factors such as usability. I'm creating this product. Is it going to be usable to the users? Is it going to offer them quality? And is it going to be efficient? Now, when we're talking about is it going to be efficient? Now, you also note that UX contributes to the development of products that are intuitive and simple to use. Now, a good user design leads to a positive user experience, which leads to higher customer satisfaction, loyalty, and conversion. When you do this, a user is able to tell the next person that, okay, I tried this product, it worked. Let me recommend it to the next person. Because as long as you create a very good user experience, it leads to this customer satisfaction, just the way we have people who are loyal to the iOS brand, and we have another set who are loyal to the Android brand. What happens here is that each customer is satisfied with the product they have, and so far so good, they have had a positive experience. That's why if they have a friend or know anyone who wants to get a particular product, they are quick to recommend and say, get this product, it's going to work for you. Don't get the other product. And then it also contributes to the development of products that are accessible and usable by people with disabilities. Now, for creating products generally in the user experience, you have to note that accessibility is very, very important. The reason I stress on this is that in life we have different pairs of users, and for users we have people with disabilities. So if you want someone with a disability to come and use your product, you have to make it accessible to them, because accessibility is very important. If you create a product and no one is finding it accessible, and somehow those with disability can't use it, you are at a, I wouldn't say disadvantage, I would say you just created a particular product to fit a particular group of users. Now, users tend to be different, because for each product that is being created, we know that we have a particular target audience, and also we have personnel. So when you want to create a product, you get to niche out, okay, these are my target audience, these are the personnels I'm working with. So most times it is very important in that when you're creating personals, you have to go as far as saying that, okay, I'm including the disabled people in this, because you want them to be able to use an app and let it work for them. Just like when you add features like voice to text and read aloud. This is to help maybe those that are blind to be able to have their systems read out what is in front of them, or those that have disabilities and can't type, they should be able to use speech to text when they are searching for stuffs on the internet. So moving on, we'll say that a good user experience design is critical for the success of every product. Now, no matter the product that is being created, be it digital, be it physical, it is very important to note that once you create an experience that people can't resist, it gives your product a hedge over every other thing that happens, like over other products, and it gives you these success rates that would work. Now, please, I would want to ask if I'm going too fast, kindly let me know. You can drop a message in the chat. If you have questions, you can go on to drop them in the chat. I would take a look at them or take a break to come back to your questions and answer these questions. Now, you might have said, okay, I'm a UI UX designer. It's not important for the I don't necessarily need to know the UX aspect of design. But I'm here to tell you that yeah, you have to know the UX aspect of design. Reason being that the user experience aspect is very crucial to every design you would make or to every product you would have to come up with. Now, the primary goal of user experience at the end of the day is to create products that meet the needs of the users. Now, you don't just create products because I want to create products. You create products because you're trying to solve a particular problem. And then in solving a problem, it's not just the shallow part of the problem you're looking at. You're looking at, is this actually a problem that needs to be solved? And if yes, it needs to be solved, what is the actual problem? Now, we can say that the major problem we have or want to solve is want to create a group of creators where we have different creators come in and give suggestions and help each other. Now, that is just the shallow part of the problem. So we're asking, what exactly is the problem of the creators? Now, creators have different issues. Now, a group of them might have issues having to face their cameras or come up with content that they feel is worthy. So then we're breaking down what our problem is to enhance satisfaction so that we don't just end up creating a random product, but then we have been able to tailor it down to suit what the users need at the end of the day. Then also it increases user productivity. When we talk about productivity, user experience has, as I said, is already existing. So at the end of the day, what you're trying to do is simplify the user's interactions with a product. So I would give this particular example. If I want to share my WhatsApp number with someone, I would start by sending them my phone number. So when I send my phone number across, the next person gets to pick up the phone number, to copy my number, paste it, and save it in their contacts. Then goes back to WhatsApp to refresh their contact so they can find my name and send me a message on WhatsApp. Now that is a long process. So if I want to increase productivity and I just want to shorten the process, all I have to do is I go on the WhatsApp, copy my WhatsApp link and send it across. So all they have to do is click on the WhatsApp link and it takes them directly to my WhatsApp account. They can send me a message, then proceed to save my number. Now I just successfully shortened the user journey and I increased productivity on the next person's end, making their goal is making their goal efficient and easy to achieve. Next, going forward, we talk about reduce development cost. Now, the thing about user experience is when you, as we progress, when you get to find out that when you have to conduct a user research, you have to carry out surveys, questionnaires, and carry out interviews. Now, what this does for you is it helps reduce the development cost in the sense that while you are creating a solution, you're able to find out the major problems and then solve it in the final develop in the final product. Just like I talked about the group of creators. Now we found out that creators have a problem, they need a community where they can support themselves. We have moved on to say, okay, it is not just about having a problem, they have different problems, and one of the problems is they are not able to tell themselves, or they are not flowing with their content, and they need someone else to be able to tell them, okay, this content is good, work on it and edit it. So now we have taken a problem out of the major problem. So we're looking for the actual problem. And at the end of the day, when we now create a solution, it's now solving the problem of creators who have scripts and need people to go through it and see whether it's okay for them to push out. So we have solved that problem. Therefore, we have fixed the errors during the development process and ultimately saved ourselves time when developing the product as well as money. So it increases develop competitive advantage. Now, user experience is about creating a simple, seamless journey. That way it enables one put out a product that sets itself far apart from competitions. Now, there are certain products that you as a user will use, and you will not want to use any other person's product. Reason being that we have different competitors out there, and let's say you have chosen a particular brand, let's say a noodles brand, and from that noodles brand you have a particular one you prefer to cook than the other one. The reason is the brand you chose has set itself far apart from the competitors, and you have tried other brands, but then you have found out that, okay, out of all the brands available, this is the one I'm most comfortable with. So now it means that the company you chose have been able to set their experience to be top notch and different from other competitors, such as probably reducing their cooking time, making sure it's more tasty than others. So now it has given them that advantage and giving them a loyal customer base, because if product A works for me, I don't think I would bother myself to try product B, because I have what I want in A and that is fine. Then increase product revenue. Now you have set up yourself for a competitive advantage. You already have that competitive advantage in the industry with whatever product you have been able to create at the end of the day. Now it leads to product increase in product revenue, because your customers are loyal to you, and then they keep on recommending more people to you. So they or more or less tell their friends like, you want to buy this, oh, buy from this person, is better. So you have increased sales and revenue for a company, because customers will recommend what is good and what gives them an experience that they like. Then let's look at the common example to analyze the importance of good UX. So when we talk about UX, and at least I've been buttressing it from the start of the class, we're looking at the user experience and how it's going to work. So I'm going to dwell on these particular images, cup A and cup B. Now, from what you have here, you can see that we have two different cups, or mugs as I would call them. And then, as I earlier stated, when you're creating a product, they have to be useful, they have to be usable, and they have to be desirable. So I would ask a question. Please go ahead to drop your answer in the chat. Between cup A and cup B, which one are you more likely to go with if you wanted to get a mug for yourselves? So I would give you like probably 1 second to get that answer. You can just put A or B in the chat so I can move on. Okay, so I'm having cup B, cup B, cup B. Now, when we say it's cup B, we're looking at the usability, the desirability, and the usefulness. Now, most of you will go with cup B. I don't know what your reasons are, but I'll come back to that. So when we look at both cups, we understand that cup A, is it useful? Yes, it's a vessel and it will contain what we have. Most times mugs are being used for, let's say, to take hot tea majorly, or hot coffee or drink. So cup A is useful, yes, because it will contain drink or your tea or your coffee or whatever it is. But is it usable? No. Now I would explain this. Now, when you look at cup A and you see the cup handle, you notice that it's so tiny that getting your fingers in it will be hard for you. And then whatever you're drinking is going to be hot. So how are you going to be able to hold cup A without spilling the drink on yourselves? And then we have the desirability metrics. Now, it's not desirable because fine, it looks good, it will contain what I want. But then it's not as desirable as when I have to look at cup B, because looking at cup A, there's something that is certain. If I'm using it to drink it tea, to take tea or coffee, there's a high possibility of me burning my fingers because I can't hold cup A using the handle that is there. Neither, and lifting it is going to be difficult. So I would want to hold it with both hands, invariably meaning that I would touch it and it will burn my hands because it's not insulated. Unlike cup B. Now, cup B is useful. It passed the useful mark and then the usability mark. You would notice in cup B that it has like an inner layer inside. Now, what that inner layer does is that if I have a hot tea inside, I can hold cup B without being scared of getting my hands burned or burning myself. And also, it's desirable because looking at cup A and cup B, if you're in a shop and you need to pick it, you definitely go for cup B because it looks desirable, it looks fine. Unlike cup A that looks fine, but then it's not giving you this feel like, yeah, I want to get it. So it's more about why this happens. I feel what went wrong in cup A is that proper research wasn't being done when the cup was being made. All they thought about was, okay, we are creating a mug to meet a particular dish set that has been created. So much thought wasn't properly put in when creating this. So this is, well, I will leave you with this. I would say look at the product you have interacted with in your everyday to day life. You get to understand that there are experiences around them. And again, you get to see that for each thing you have encountered, you have chosen if they were useful to you, if they were usable, and if there was if there was desirability at the end of the day. That's why you chose that product you picked or used. Now, the first thing you need to know is that UX is about the user. UX is about the user. It is not about you, the designer, because you want to make a great design, and a great design is made based on your user experience and not you. So moving on, we'll talk about the UX design process. So when we talk about UX design process, we talk about various steps, several steps where you have understanding the user, doing user research, ideating, testing, and crafting. Now, majorly, these steps are being created in a linear version. When I say in a linear version, you get to see diagrams that have circles that take you from design, define, or squares. I would have to state this clearly that in design process, the design process is not linear. It is something that you can go back a step. It's not that you have to design first, then move on to or rather you have to do your research, define your problem first, then move on to ideate, then move on to testing. You can decide to ideate, then go back to research. It is not something that must be done in a linear form. It is something that you can take a step ahead, then come back. Like in cases where you have to work on an already existing product, it means that you're more or less going to have to do your user research first to understand how people interact with this product, what is wrong, and what you have to work upon before you start going to ideate your new ideas and test it. Then when that is done, you have to look at yes, the user design process. Then you have to look at the typical stages. Here is defining a problem, researching the user's need, ideating and prototyping, and user testing. Like I said, you can always iterate, you can choose to go back and forth. It is not a linear process. So when we talk about defining a, a problem, we're talking on in this phase, we're saying, okay, we are trying to understand what the users needs and what their goals are, as well as identifying any pain points they might have experienced. Also, we move on to say researching the user's needs. You have been able to define their problem, but now you have to identify what their needs are, meaning you have to go on research. Now, in gathering your research, you have to conduct interviews, you have to go on to carry a feedback method. You gather your feedback, you have to interview users, you have to see how they interact with this particular thing and why it is a pain to them. Then you go on to ideate, then prototype, as well as testing. When you have to test, you have gone through the define, research, and ideating space. You're now testing how a user will accept to use your product, or how it will turn out when they decide that they want to use it. Then all moving on, we have to talk about UX tools. Now we have been talking about the user experience all this while, how it matters in creating products, how they meet the needs of the users. There are tools that we use when we are conducting the user experience, and those tools include we have basic strategies such as creating user personals, journey mapping, task analysis to understand the users. Then we have wireframes. Now, basically, you must have come across what the term wireframe. So, wireframe is more or less drawing out what you feel will work, or drawing out frames or sketching out a structure that will help users when they want to navigate a a product or a app, whatever it is. And then we'll talk about the user flow. Like I explained earlier when I gave the WhatsApp example of getting someone to have your contact on their phones. Now, for user flows, it's more or less telling, these are diagrams that illustrate how a user is going to move from A to B, or how they are going to navigate on a website. It helps designers understand how the users will interact with a particular product, and as well show them the potential pain points a designer might have when they're working, a pain point rather a user will have when they are working with a product. Then we have personals. Now, personals are fictional characters that represent different type of users. Now, what they do here is they help designers group people into different categories and identify the different users to a product. In each product, there are different users. It's something that you'll come to understand as you go through your design journey. Product A might have users who want to, I might get a laptop because I want to use it to learn UI UX design and become a UI designer or UX designer. But at the same time, person B will buy a laptop because all they want to use it to do is to watch movies. And another person might get the laptop because they want to trade. So we have different users' personals that you have to know at the end of the day. Okay, I'm going to niche down to this particular personals because I want to solve this particular user's problem and not the other way round. And moving forward, we have the UX design principles. So there are basic principles that guides design when you have to design. So when you're talking about user experience, there are basic principles that guide these users, and it is based, I will call them like we have the lit terms, and we have so many. But for UX design principles, we can start with usability, accessibility, desirability, credibility, findability, amongst the other lities. Now, what they intend to do at the end of the day is to create a product that is simple, enjoyable, and effective. Now, there's this whole idea that, okay, when you're creating a product, you have to be very certain about aesthetics. Now, your aesthetics is wonderful. It's well noted, but there's something you have to note. Apart from it being beautiful and looking pretty, is it going to be accessible to all? So when we talk about accessibility, we're still talking about creating products that anyone can use, both people who are classified as normal, those who have disabilities can use. You're sure that, okay, anybody can pick up this product and they will use it without having to stress themselves or get confused at the end of the day. Then we move on to say when you create products, or another design principle here would be the user-centered design. Now, user-centered design emphasize on the fact that it is very important that when you are designing a product, you have to be more concentrated on your users. Now, designers tend to get carried away, and most times they create products based on what they feel the users need and not what the users need. But in user-centered design principle, you have to point out that the basic principle here is the user. So you make sure that the user is your point of concentration and not yourself when you have to make a decision concerning a particular product or app you'll be working with. Then moving on, we say we have usability. For usability now, and this principle emphasizes the significance of ensuring that the design is intuitive and simple to use. Just like we had the mugs that were shown earlier on. Is it easy for me to use? Am I going to pick it up and I'll be able to use it? So even if I'm going to a website, you don't want to open up, you can't just say you open up a website and all you have to see is different colors and a lot of things. Now it has a lot of things going on. It means what happens to someone who has problems with colors or who reacts to seeing too many colors in a place, you invariably confuse them, meaning that they will have to close that website and leave it, never to return or never to recommend it to someone else. And maybe the only reason they might have to return to a particular website like that is because it is under mandatory notice. Now, for when you have to deal with usability, especially when you have to design, you note that most times you hear that you're not allowed to use more than three colors when you're designing. Reason being that you have a minimum of two colors, a maximum of three. Why this is so is because we want to be sure that it makes you create products that are usable, so that you don't have so many colors flying around at the end of the day and confusing people, because you each industry has a color that is peculiar to them. So having more than three on a particular design might be very confusing. And then when you have to deal with fonts, now when you have fonts to work with, you are told that you can use a minimum of two different font types, two fonts rather. Then you can use a maximum of three fonts when you're creating a design. The reason being is that just the same reasons you have for the colors is the same reason you have for your font. Now we have consistency. Now, when we talk about consistency in user experience, you don't want to create a product that is different from what users are used to. Now, users have over the years evolve in different ways, and they have tend to form a pattern in their minds that it's either this pattern or nothing else. So if you're going to be consistent in creating an experience that users will enjoy, you have to be very consistent in your design across all platforms. That's why whenever you come across a app, whether it's on iOS or Android, you're trying to understand that they have this consistency, that even if you were using an Android app and you switch to an iOS app, you are able to flow with it, because this is an experience that has been created and is the same for everyone, whether it's on the iOS platform or it's on the Play Store itself. Then we have metrics. Now, we have talked so far about the user experience, how to create great products. But there's one thing that you know that's very important that comes into play when you are designing or when you have to deal with users experience. It's called the UX metrics. Now, this is more related towards the business angle of the design part of it and the user experience. Now, this is where you have to measure the effectiveness of every design and in, and check out for areas that you have to improve on. Now, common metrics here would include the conversion rates, the time task completion, customer satisfaction, and the likes. So when you talk about conversion rates, we're saying that okay, now that we have created this product, are people making a purchase? It's more or less I would like to use a an e-commerce platform for this particular example. if I go to an e-commerce site and I want to buy something, so what the first thing that is being measured by the design here is the conversion rate. How long is it going to take me to buy, make a purchase? How long is it going to take me to sign up for a particular service? And how is this design going to guide the users through making a purchase? There's how you create a design that at the end of the day a user might leave without buying, because they don't seem to understand the design that was made or the experience that is being given to them. So once they don't understand it, it now affects the conversion rate, because you then have many users not making a purchase, instead they walk away, meaning that you are then losing money and then you're not achieving that product goal, because the product goal here for an e-commerce is conversion rate, which is making sales. Then the next one we have is tax completion time. Now, how many minutes does it take to complete a particular task when using a product, such as, let's say, when you have to fill a form or navigating through a product? Now, many of you would agree with me that if you open up a form and you have to fill that form and it's very long, the first thing that comes to your mind is it's not important. You just close it up and leave it till maybe you remember later on that, oh, I'm supposed to fill that for something, or I'm supposed to fill it to get this admission I'm looking for. So then you have to look at the task completion time. You have to make sure that, okay, even if I'm going to give this users a task to complete, you're going to make sure that it's going to be a short process and effective, because nowadays nobody wants to even read anything that is too long or that is going to stress them. If it is not looking short and appealing to them, they just leave it and walk away, except it is a necessity. Then we have customer satisfaction. So when you deal with customer satisfaction, you're telling yourself, okay, they have used this product, are they satisfied with the product? Was it able to solve their problems at the end of the day? So this is measured through surveys and feedback forms, just like you have on a platform where you might be using an app and suddenly this survey pops up and it asks you rate us. Then when you're done rating, they ask you any improvement optional most times. But then it has to be carried out to know that, okay, this product is fulfilling a particular need, and yeah, it's fulfilling a particular need. And this is about 37 minutes. So guys, if you have questions, please go ahead to drop your questions in the chat so that I will pick it up once I'm done. Then we have the error rates. So when you're talking, okay, yeah. So error rate, I'll just say that it's on the other slide. So when we're talking about error rates, we're talking about what errors were encountered when using this product. Is it that, was it difficult, or did it lead to frustration? And also we have engagement. Now for engagement, you have to ask, how often do users engage with products? Even when you have like on your phone apps, there are times you go and check the times you spent on apps. You find out that probably you spent more time on Facebook than you spend more time on Twitter, or you spend more time on YouTube than you spend more time on Twitter or Facebook. Now it's more or less tracking the metrics for designers. So are you creating a product that users will always want to be on to get necessary information, and as well as when you check engagement time, you also note that, okay, do I have to make changes on this particular product? At least it gives you an idea of what users tend to interact with on a particular website, and if you have to make changes to this particular interactions. So basically, but when you have to track the UX metrics, you have to make sure that it is very effective in your tracking journey, that whatever that is being tracked, whatever product that is being made, it measures up to every metrics at that point that it's meant to meet, and it helps you create experiences that your users would work with. Moving on, we have so we have talked about a lot from beginning of the class till this point. So the conclusion is this: user experience is important because it helps you create products that are easy and intuitive to use. And majorly, you have to note that when it comes to the UX design process, it is not a linear process. It is something that you can go back and forth until you achieve the aim for that particular design. Now, Good UX design is crucial for the success of a digital product or a physical product, because UX comes to play both in physical product and digital product, and make sure that, as we said, it increases your customer satisfaction and loyalty, as well as increases your um, purchasing decisions among the users. Then, as a UX designer, these are just few of the laws we have guiding the UX process. We have a whole lot of laws. You can go on to check them, and even in the blog post, you see a lot of things that would help you. And yeah, here we are, Q&A. But before the Q&A, I would leave you to answer this. From what you can see, is this a bad UX experience or is this a good UX experience? You can drop your answers in the chat session or in the comment section. Also, we have this. This is what happens. So this majorly is what happens when you thought about just yourself and not the users. Now you created the main design, which is the road, and the users created their own experience by going through the field. So make your choice and think and note, as I said earlier, it's more about the user than about you, the designer. So this is here we are currently in the Q&A session. So I will be going through your questions. If you have questions, please go ahead to drop them in the chats. Okay, give me a minute. I'm going through your chats. So for the first, I don't think this is but okay. So Emmanuel is saying something in my head will still go with cup A no matter the design. I feel my brain would accept to hold cup B directly no matter how it was designed. Just thinking out loud, it's still a user experience. Now you might okay, you might choose to go with cup A because you have built this experience over time, and you have this anchor bias in your mind that if it's not looking that mock shape, then it's not fit for me. So I would accept this because you're a different user entirely for that product. So that's fine. So this question say, what is the difference between UI and UX design? Is it advisable for someone to focus on one or both? Are UI designers different from UX designers? So when we talk about difference between UI and UX, now we say UI has to do with user interface. So when you're talking about the user interface, you're talking about the colors, the appeal. Is it looking the aesthetics concerning a product? That's when you deal with UI designers. Now UI designers majorly are visual designers because they tend to deal with all the colors, how it looks, what feels it gives. But then UX designers are more interested in the experience for the users. So in a way they are both separate from each other, because most big companies will employ a UI designer different from a UX designers because they are both different process. But at times, or currently in our part of the world, we tend to have the two of them grouped together, meaning that you can choose to be a generalist where you know a bit about the UI design and also a bit about the UX design. Now, what this does, it gives you an advantage because at the end of the day, you know that okay, I can successfully take a product from bottom to top and build it in such a way that users will be able to flow with it, and then it meets the usability, accessibility, and desirability goal of the product. So he said, is it advisable for someone to focus on both? For a beginner, I'll tell you, do both. Then you can work with it for a while. Then after a while, you can choose to diversify, just like I did. I started out with both, but along the line, I choose to go the UX route. So start out with both and go forward from there. So someone is saying, okay, I think the last question. Okay, this is another question here. Okay, it's not really a question, it's a comment. Emmanuel is saying, I don't like it at all. Why do WhatsApp do that? It's for me, it's a bad user experience. Everybody might have their own feel about it because Why do I have to delete a message and then you help me announce to the next person that I deleted the message? I didn't want them to see the message. That's why I'm deleting it. So it's more or less supposed to be like I'm the only person that saw it. The next person is not supposed to see it. But WhatsApp obviously have the team at WhatsApp obviously have their reasons for doing that. We never can tell. And then this question is saying user journey map and user flow map. What is the difference? So when you talk about user flow, you're saying that this is the flow from one point to another, or this is how a user is going to interact using your app. So they are going from page A to page B, and more or less they are moving from A to B, and they are moving from about to sign up and all of that. It's more about how the user will move from a particular place to another. Now, while a user journey map is usually known as the customer journey app, it's more about a diagram that represents how users are going to go through your site, more or less like there are certain diagrams you see that come in form of an hierarchy. They are more or less showing you everything that you have contained in that site. That is where we have to say, and that's what we classify as a user journey map. I think I'll put more examples about that, or I'll drop a picture on the Discord channel so that you see what the journey map looks like. It's more or less telling the user that it's more or less telling the user that okay, you can go from A to B, from sign up to sign in to register to about us. So more or less, the user journey map is a broad term that encompasses the user flow, because the user journey map is telling you that okay, these are the things available in this website. Then the flow here is that it's telling you that if you go to homepage, these are what you find in the homepage. Then from the homepage, it takes you to another page. I hope I have been able to explain that in a clear term without confusing you. Please let me know by dropping a message in the chat. Also, okay. John is saying bad user experience. If I wanted it deleted, I didn't want the recipient to know I deleted it. Exactly. So we have the Didi also says bad user experience. Then we have bad user experience also. And I have Katie saying why WhatsApp is a snitch. Why would they do that to us? Exactly. Why would you do that to us? So Rikayat is saying, what are some of the features that can be incorporated in a product to make it usable for all? So basically, we have some features are when you have the microphones features, where you have something like the ear features and all of that, the hearability features. We have different features that can be incorporated into a product at the end of the day. But then you have to be sure that okay, these features I'm incorporating, would they go a long way for my users? That's one thing you have to understand. And then I would ask you to look more at accessibility. When you start studying about accessibility in design, you get to find out that there are many features that can go in because we have different disabilities. It's even more than just features. It even has to do with when you're picking colors and when you're deciding on what fonts to use when you want to design, because all this plays a role when it comes to accessibility for a product to make it usable for all. So I hope that answers your question, Rukayat. Okay, Didi Lux is saying, yes, sometimes I end up not deleting at all because what's the point? Actually, what's the point? If I delete it, WhatsApp will still go back to tell the next person that I deleted a message. So let's just all stay here. I'll correct the mistake by typing another message. So for WhatsApp, I really do not want the other user to know I deleted a message. It's not good UX for me. All right. Thank you, Prosper. So attitude is saying it's not a good user experience because if the user wanted to delete a message, he obviously does not want the other person to see he deleted something. So saying a message was deleted isn't needed. Okay, so Ameta, you're saying when working on a particular project, how do you document your design thinking process? Is it different from your case study? it's not different from your case study. Now the case study itself, it's a broad term that covers everything and every work that you put in coming up with a process. So more or less you have your design thinking process inside your case study. So you have different sessions when you're coming up with a case study. Basically you have the about the product, the problem, the solution, the design thinking, the ideation phase, as well as the wireframe and all of that. So you basically document your design thinking process inside your case study at the end of the day. So okay, I have bad UX. They could have just made it what? Okay, they could have just made it not drop that icon of deleted message so you don't have to delete your message. Exactly. So you're saying this question says, what makes a UX designer different from a product manager? Now, a UX designer is someone who, as I said earlier, focuses on the user experience and what would come out at the end of the day for the users, and making sure that the user process is seamless. But for a product manager is someone who manages a product from start to finish and has an idea of every process that is being put in to making a product come to life. More or less, they have an idea about what would go into the UI process, what would go into the UX process, what the developers are going to do. So there are two different roles. A product manager will oversee a product from start to finish. A UX designer will focus majorly on the experience that is to be given and iterating it back to the team to create a seamless process for the users. Then here, Adeni, you're saying, what are the practical ways we can measure the engagement rate and error rate of a product? Now, when you have a product out there, there are certain metrics that are being put in when you are creating these products. You have something like the Google Analytics being embedded in your website. Now, what this does for you is that you're able to tell by the end of at the end of the day, when you go back to your analytic tool, you're able to tell that okay, users engage more on this particular product, or users spend more time on this particular page. So practical ways are just having analytic tools in that particular product or that website or whatever it is that being put out. It helps you measure how much time was being spent on a page, which pages they were more focused on, and what happens. Just the same way for your error rate of a product. These tools also help measure those rates, like why they didn't spend whether they spent a minute or two, or whether they spent less than 1 second on a page, or 1 second or less or more on a particular page. So we have tools that will help you measure this. All these analytic tools help you do this. Okay, someone is saying same as Snapchat, if you mistakenly screenshot it, you notify the person that you did the screenshot. Wow, that's bad. Why will you do that? Okay, okay. Sometimes it triggers the person to start asking questions and all. Yeah. So you're saying what are the standards of selecting colors for an app or a website? So basically, in selecting colors, I think you have to look at the industry you are designing for. If I'm going to be designing for or creating a product around agriculture, the first thing that comes to my mind is green. Anyone saying green, we think about agriculture first, and maybe green, white, and another color that relates to agriculture. You have to go back to other designs, because as we said, design is it's not something you create, it has already been created. So what you have to do is to improve on an existing design. You go back, do your research about products that have been created on the particular industry, check out the colors, and from there you decide which colors you will use in creating it. You don't want to use blue when you're creating an agricultural product, because most times blue is associated more with things around the tech industry and probably the medical field. So when you have blue in an agricultural field, it might be confusing, because you're expecting green and not blue, because users already have a particular fixed notion. So yes, that will do. Okay, so bad UX. Anette, I'm kind of confused about information architect and user journey. Are they different? Okay, so I will say this again. Information architecture and journey map are similar but quite different in their different instances. So just like your information architecture can also be referred to as your journey map. Reason being that it carries everything that an app contains. It's telling you, it shows you everything that the website contains. So more or less, they are very similar. It's just different terms being used for both of them. I hope that answers that. So Kate says, I'm still confused. Can you use diagrams or pictorials to explain the user flow and the user journey map? Okay, we can use diagrams to explain that. So what will happen is for your you get a link covering a blog post having this class. So on that particular blog post, when you go through it, you will see the diagrams explaining the user flow and user journey map there. So I think that should help you. I hope that answers that. So give me a minute. So moving on, we have okay. So Edidion says, I always don't want the recipient to know I deleted the message. That's why I love Telegram. Yeah, I think okay. I don't really use Telegram, so I can't see. Oh, I'm saying we can't hear you again. Please, can you hear me? If you can hear me, let me know. I hope I haven't been talking to myself. Ella, can anyone hear me? Please, if you can hear me, let me know.
Yes, we can hear you, Amaka. Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you. Thank you so much, Ella. Okay. Okay, so Saki, probably that was your network. Just go off and come back. Then this question is okay. Funny enough, for GB WhatsApp users, they have found a way to make deleted messages not delete on their end. A really big snitch. Yes. Okay, I don't like GB WhatsApp for certain things. So I understand they are big snitches. I am indifferent. Deleted messages make me curious and tend to keep the conversation going for me. Okay, that's Bint. And say, although it's not a WhatsApp problem, because I don't think that version is official. I believe they could stop those set of users from connecting or making use of their server. I think WhatsApp has always had it since they gave the delete option. So probably, I don't know about that, but they could. It's left to them. So that it's really bad of Snapchat. Yes, it's bad of Snapchat. That's big time snitching. So well, I've heard that there's a place you could evaluate your UI to check if it passes the equity test. How true is this? Yes, there are certain platforms that ask you to put in your designs or drop a link to your design, so they'll tell you if it passes the design set. I think majorly they check for your colors, fonts, and arrangement. Yes, I do. Okay, I currently can't remember the name, but if I do, I will drop it in the resource chat on Discord for you. Okay, so we can hear you. I can hear you. I can hear you. So basically, that is all for this class. So thank you guys. Thank you. So before I leave, I will leave with this. I will leave this on the screen. So again, I want to say that for user for user UX design, it is more about the users and it's not more about you, the designer, because you can easily oversee your way through it, but the users see things differently, and that is exactly what this image represents. You have made your designs based on what you thought, and the users have decided the experience they will go through. Each user is different and unique, so always put that at the back of your mind that you are not the user and the users are different. Thank you guys. So if you have more questions, go ahead to drop it on the Discord server. We can take it up from there. If you are yet to follow the YouTube channel, please go ahead to subscribe on our YouTube channel and follow us on Twitch. Emanuela, thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Maka. Thank you. So, and everyone with more questions, you can always reach out to Amaka on our Discord. You can ask her questions on our Discord community. And please make sure you follow us on YouTube, follow us on Twitch. Make sure you subscribe and put on your notification so that if we have more videos on workshops, seminars, or events, you will always be notified. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, Mr. Maka, for today's class. All right. Bye,
Thank you
everyone.
for having me. All right, bye guys.